Hey everyone, my name is Fabi. I'm a VP at Parachain Technologies, which is the core engineering company behind the Polkadot project. I'm going to talk for 10 minutes or so about Polkadot, give a little bit of an overview of what Polkadot actually is, at least on a conceptual level, and then a bit of an overview of its ecosystem. Don't gonna have too much time to really go into details here, but there's lots of resources out there if you want to dig deeper. So I'll jump right in. A little bit of a historic overview, historic background. Polkadot really got started in 2015, 2016. So the idea solidified in 2016 with the Polkadot paper that Gavin Wood wrote. And if you read through the paper today, it's still it's still the core idea of Polkadot, what you will read. The Polkadot scope has expanded over the years and the implementation details have changed and so on, but generally we're still working towards the same idea for the last 4 years. If I was to describe Polkadot today, I would probably do it a little bit differently, just because we have more industry jargons, industry terms that people understand now, and you don't have to describe all of these things from first principles. But Polkadot is, to go through some of these, right? Polkadot is scalability achieved through sharding. Polkadot is proof of stake. Polkadot is interoperability that is within the Polkadot ecosystem. Across these shards, right? This is what we kind of like what we internally call cross-chain message passing, which just means all the shards that are deployed on Polkadot can talk to each other, understand each other, and through bridges, which means Polkadot can also, or applications built on top of Polkadot can also talk to and understand external systems, right? Like the Ethereum blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain. Polkadot is adaptive, it's amorphous. What you will often hear is it's governed by on-chain logic. So on-chain governance is a big topic. But Polkadot is kind of more than these labels, similar to what you would see in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Polkadot is a public network, but it's also a technology stack. It's an ecosystem of tools and infrastructure and application. It's an ecosystem of businesses. So it's a little bit hard to untangle what it all is, right? But if we take this more technical point of view, I think a pretty good mental model for it is it's essentially a meta infrastructure for layer ones. You could think of it as a layer zero or a platform of platforms. So it's this meta infrastructure that then layer ones can deploy to get a bunch of different benefits, but mainly interoperability and security. Another way of looking at it is Polkadot is heterogeneous sharding. So similar to what Ethereum is doing, to Ethereum 2 is doing for scalability, is you say, okay, one chain, one layer one doesn't scale that well. What we're going to do is we're going to just spin up lots of them and combine them under the same security umbrella, and that's what we call the beacon chain, or in Polkadot, the relay chain. And we let them all talk to each other. And through that, we kind of like horizontally scaled the whole system. Polkadot is very much about that as well, with the difference that it's heterogeneous, meaning not every one of these shards is an Ethereum execution environment, but rather, it's fully abstracted over the logic on these of these shards. So you could have a Bitcoin-like or an Ethereum-like or a Zcash-like, or really whatever you want, or whatever you can build into a blockchain. You can deploy it as a shard to Polkadot. So this was kind of like the conceptual part. There's just, as I said, there's lots of papers, specifications, code, documentation, and so on out there. So feel free to dig into that if you're interested in it. More on the ecosystem side, Polkadot is also a very vibrant ecosystem, an emerging ecosystem. So I was talking about these different shards that can be built and deployed to Polkadot. We currently have over 100 of those in development. So those are layer one blockchains that are being built and that are Polkadot compatible. Lots of test nets running, a bunch of mainnets already running, but essentially there's a big backlog of teams that are waiting to deploy to Polkadot. There's, on the other hand, we have like a lot of infrastructure, tooling, integration. So this is all the stuff that aren't necessarily shards or applications on Polkadot, but there's just useful components for participants in the Polkadot ecosystem. So you could think about validator tooling, developer tooling, deployment infrastructure, stuff like that. Polkadot builders are all over the world. There is still a bit of a focus on Europe, just because the Parity headquarters are in Europe, the Web3 Foundation headquarters are in Europe, so naturally we have a bit of a stronger foothold there. But North America and Asia, and in particular China, is actually really big markets for us. Yeah, ecosystem growth. This is just zooming in onto the chain / shard part of Polkadot. You see, roughly since Q1 2019, the tech stack is somewhat stable. Like, you can use it. This was the first time we actually put it in front of developers and were like, look, is this something that actually solves your problem? And started iterating over it. And ever since then, we've seen pretty significant growth and continuous growth, quarter over quarter, of people getting started with our technology stack, to the point now that we have just over 100 people. And this is last quarter. It's probably a bit higher now, but just over 100 companies, businesses building shards for the Polkadot ecosystem. So this is a bit of a different perspective on the same data. It's not the number of chains, but it is what is actually the composition, what kind of stuff are people building. So you'll see three broad categories that I put up here: application-specific chains, domain-specific chains, and industry-specific chains. This is kind of like a made-up categorization, but I think it's a good mental model. So domain-specific chains being chains that tackle a specific problem domain, like privacy, scalability, file storage, oracles. Industry-specific chains, specific application verticals, specific industry verticals. So DeFi being the biggest one right now, but also gaming, IoT. And application-specific chains being chains that are fully optimized for a single application. Ecosystem support. So it's kind of like the flip side of what I was showing just now of like ecosystem growth, as we have a whole like support infrastructure in place that is there to serve people in our ecosystem. So if you are building in our ecosystem, there's all kinds of like programs and resources you can plug into that essentially ensures your success, right? Or at least gets the probability of your success significantly up. Broadly, you can categorize those into like 3 or 4 buckets. It's technical support across the board with all kinds of different ways to support you there, be that through Parity directly and developers, or just through helping hiring and getting access to talent through delivery partners. So things like that. It's community / marketing. So many of these layer ones then want to bootstrap their own communities of developers, users. So this is something we support quite a bit with. And then funding. And funding, you have a lot of different ways to do this, be it venture capital or grants. But actually a big one, which is quite interesting, this is the chart on the right here, is the Polkadot Treasury, which is essentially a big on-chain DAO that deploys capital into the Polkadot ecosystem. You see a projection here, what's in this DAO. So if none of the money would be spent by August next year, there would be about 300 million worth of assets in this DAO. So it's a pretty big capital deployment mechanism for the ecosystem. Yeah, so as a closing slide, just a quick overview of the roadmap. We started rolling out Polkadot at the beginning of the year. So you'll see, we started with just like launching Genesis and kind of like not really a dummy chain, but there wasn't really much going on. It's just a proof of authority network. Upgraded that to a proof of stake chain, upgraded that into like the full on-chain governance mechanism we have, removed all of the master keys that we're holding, enabled balance transfers towards the end of this summer. And the next big milestone at the beginning of next year is going to be enabling actually this core functionality. So I was talking about these shards, these parachains. This stuff will actually be supported towards the beginning of next year. So that will be the big next one. Yeah, that's it from my side. So thanks for listening, and thanks to BSN for the invitation.